What happens when a beloved daytime host comes face to face with royalty gone rogue? In just 38 seconds, one comment would ignite a firestorm that nobody saw coming. Kelly Clarkson sat across from Prince Harry in her bright studio, the audience buzzing with excitement. This was supposed to be a lighthearted chat, the kind Kelly does best. Warm, funny, relatable. But from the moment Harry walked out, something felt off. Kelly started with her signature charm. "Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you here. I have to say, your book has everyone talking." Harry barely smiled. He glanced around the studio like he was inspecting it. Yes, well, I suppose American television has its own style. The audience laughed nervously. Kelly kept her smile bright. "We like to keep things fun here. So tell us, what made you want to share your story now?" "I think the real question," Harry said, leaning back in his chair, "is why more people haven't been listening all along. I've been trying to speak my truth for years." Kelly nodded, still warm and encouraging. "Absolutely, and people are definitely listening now. Your mother, Princess Diana, was such an inspiration to so many. Do you feel like you're carrying on her legacy?" Harry's face changed. "You know, that's quite presumptuous of you to say. You didn't know my mother. Americans always think they understood her, but you really didn't." The studio went quiet. Kelly's smile faltered just slightly, but she recovered like the professional she is. "You're right. I didn't know her personally, but she touched a lot of lives around the world, including here. I think people just connected with her humanity." "Her humanity," Harry repeated, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Right. The same people who bought the tabloids that chased her. The same media that destroyed her. But sure, you all loved her humanity." Kelly shifted in her seat. The audience could feel the tension now. "I understand you have complicated feelings about the media, and that's completely valid. But I think most people genuinely admired your mother for who she was." Harry waved his hand dismissively. "Most people didn't have a clue who she was. They saw what they wanted to see, just like they do with me, just like you're doing right now." "I'm not sure I understand," Kelly said carefully. "What am I doing?" "This," Harry gestured around the studio. "This performance. Pretending to care. Asking surface-level questions so you can get your ratings. It's also American. So fake." The audience gasped. Kelly's face flushed, but she kept her composure. "Harry, I genuinely invited you here to have a conversation. If there's something specific you want to talk about, we can absolutely go there." "What I want," Harry said, his voice rising, "is for people to stop pretending. You sit here in your comfortable studio, asking me about my trauma, like it's entertainment. Do you have any idea what it's like to lose your mother? The way I did?" Kelly's voice softened. "I can't imagine that pain. I lost my father, and that was devastating. But you're right. I don't know your specific experience." "Your father?" Harry scoffed. "Was your father's death broadcast around the world? Did millions of people watch you grieve? Did they take pictures of you at the funeral?" "No," Kelly said quietly. "They didn't. And I'm truly sorry for what you went through. But Harry, you agreed to come on this show. You're promoting your book, sharing your story. I'm trying to give you space to do that." Harry stood up suddenly. "Space. You call this space. You're just like all the rest of them. Vultures. Every single one of you." Kelly stood too, her voice firm now. "Okay, I think we need to take a breath here. I've been nothing but respectful to you." "Respectful?" Harry laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about respect? Let me tell you about respect. Respect is not inviting someone onto your show and then acting like you understand their life. Respect is not smiling that plastic smile while you dig into someone's pain for views." The audience was completely silent now. Kelly's jaw tightened. I have never, ever used anyone's pain for views. That's not who I am. And frankly, it's insulting that you would suggest that. Insulting? Harry's voice grew louder. You want to talk about insulting? What's insulting is this entire charade. This set, these people, you, all of it. You're all so desperate for a piece of the royal story that you'll smile and nod at anything. Kelly's eyes flashed. That is enough. I invited you here as a guest, and I've treated you with nothing but kindness. I don't know what you're going through, but you don't get to come into my house and disrespect me or my audience. Your house, Harry mocked. This isn't a house. It's a circus. And you're the ringmaster, aren't you? Getting everyone to clap and cheer on command. Actually, Kelly said, her voice steady and strong, this is a place where people come to feel seen and heard, where we have real conversations, where we laugh together and sometimes cry together. And yes, it is my house. And in my house, we treat each other with basic human decency. Harry pointed at her. Don't lecture me about decency. You have no idea what I've been through, what my family has done to me, what the world has done to me. You're right, Kelly said. I don't know everything you've been through, but I do know that everyone in this room, everyone watching at home, they've been through things too. Hard things, painful things, and they don't use that as an excuse to treat others poorly. How dare you? Harry's face was red now. How dare you compare their little problems to what I've endured? The audience gasped again, louder this time. Kelly's eyes widened. Their little problems? Did you seriously just say that? Harry seemed to realize what he'd said, but he didn't back down. You know what I mean. I'm talking about real persecution, real loss, not everyday complaints. Every person's pain is real to them, Kelly said, her voice shaking slightly with emotion. The single mother in our audience worried about feeding her kids. That's real. The veteran dealing with PTSD? That's real. The teenager being bullied at school? That's real. You don't get to decide whose suffering counts. Of course you'd say that, Harry sneered. Perfect Kelly Clarkson, champion of the people. Tell me, how much are you being paid for this little show of compassion? What's your salary? How many millions? Kelly took a deep breath. My salary is none of your business. But what I will tell you is that I work hard every single day to create something that brings joy to people. Something that makes them feel less alone. And I'm proud of that. Joy? Harry laughed harshly. You're delusional. This is exploitation. You exploit people's emotions, their problems, their stories, all for profit. That's your opinion, Kelly said, her voice like steel now. And you're entitled to it. But you're not entitled to come here and attack me, attack my audience, and attack what we've built together. Harry stepped closer. I'll say whatever I want. Do you know who I am? I'm a prince. I don't answer to you or anyone else in this country. Kelly didn't back down. In case you haven't noticed, we don't have princes here. We have people. Regular people who work hard and treat each other with respect. And right now, you're being incredibly disrespectful. Respect has to be earned, Harry shot back, and you haven't earned mine. Clearly, Kelly said. But you know what? I've earned the respect of my audience. I've earned it by showing up every day, being honest, being kind, and treating my guests with dignity, even when they don't deserve it. Are you saying I don't deserve dignity? Harry's voice was dangerously quiet. I'm saying you're not showing any, Kelly replied. To me, to these people, to yourself, you're better than this. Harry shook his head. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what it's like to have your entire life scrutinized, to have people judge every move you make. Kelly's voice softened just slightly. You're right. I don't know what that's like. But Harry, you chose to write a book. You chose to do interviews. You chose to come here today. Nobody forced you. I chose to tell my truth, Harry said. That's different. Then tell it, Kelly said. But tell it without tearing other people down. Without acting like you're the only person who's ever suffered. Without treating kindness like it's a weakness. Harry stared at her for a long moment. You think you're so wise, don't you? So grounded. The girl from Texas who made it big. But you're just as trapped as the rest of us. Trapped in this system, this machine that chews people up and spits them out. Maybe I am, Kelly said, but at least I'm trying to make it better. What are you doing besides complaining? Complaining? Harry's voice rose again. I'm exposing the truth. I'm showing people what really happens behind palace walls. By attacking a talk show host in Texas, Kelly asked. That's your big expose? Making enemies out of people who were trying to be friendly? You were never being friendly, Harry said. You were being calculated. Every smile, every question, all calculated. Kelly threw her hands up. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I do calculate my questions. Because that's called being prepared. That's called being professional. That's called doing my job. Your job, Harry said mockingly. Your job is to make people feel good about their boring little lives by giving them a peek into someone more interesting. The audience was getting restless now. There were murmurs, whispers. Kelly could feel them getting uncomfortable. Okay, that's it. You need to leave. Harry looked shocked. Excuse me? You heard me, Kelly said firmly. This interview is over. You can't talk to people like that. You can't talk to me like that. It's time for you to go. You can't kick me out, Harry said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. Actually, I can, Kelly said. This is my show. This is my stage. And I'm asking you to leave. Now. Harry looked around like he was waiting for someone to defend him. Nobody did. The audience sat in stunned silence. This is absurd. You're being completely unreasonable. I'm being unreasonable? Kelly's voice carried across the studio. I've sat here and taken your insults. I've listened to you mock my audience. I've watched you belittle people's pain. And I'm unreasonable? I'm a guest, Harry said, his voice rising. You don't treat guests this way. Guests don't treat hosts this way either, Kelly fired back. You want to be treated like royalty? Then act like it. Show some grace. Show some humility. Show some basic human kindness. Harry's face was purple now. I don't have to listen to this. I don't have to stand here and be lectured by some television host who thinks she's important. You're absolutely right, Kelly said, her voice calm now. You don't have to listen. You can leave. In fact, I'm insisting that you leave. Fine, Harry spat out. I'll leave. But everyone will hear about this. Everyone will know how you treated me. Good, Kelly said. Tell them. Tell them exactly what happened. Tell them how you came on my show and insulted everyone here. Tell them how you called people's problems little. Tell them how you acted. Please tell everyone. Harry opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret, Kelly said, is not ending this sooner. Harry stood there for another second, looking like he wanted to say more, but Kelly just stared at him, her chin up, her eyes steady. Finally, he turned and walked off the stage. The audience erupted, not in applause, but in shocked exclamations. Kelly stood there, her chest heaving, clearly shaken but trying to keep it together. She turned to the audience. I'm sorry you all had to see that. That's not what we're about here. That's not who we are. The audience started clapping then. Slow at first, then building. Kelly's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding. She wiped her eyes quickly. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to remember what this show is really about. We're going to talk about kindness. We're going to talk about respect. And we're going to celebrate each other. because that's what we do here." The audience was on their feet now, giving her a standing ovation. Kelly looked overwhelmed, emotional, but also strong. She'd stood her ground. She'd defended her values. She'd shown that kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. As the show cut to commercial, Kelly stood on that stage, looking out at her audience, the people who came to see her every day, the people who trusted her, the people who believed in what she was trying to do. She'd been tested. She'd been pushed. She'd been insulted and mocked, but she hadn't backed down. She hadn't let someone else's anger and bitterness poison what she'd built. The cameras stopped rolling, but the energy in the studio remained electric. Producers rushed around, unsure of what to do next. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't planned. This was real, raw, and completely unprecedented. Kelly walked backstage, her hands shaking. Her team surrounded her immediately. "Are you okay?" someone asked. She nodded, still processing what had just happened. "I'm okay. I couldn't let him talk to people like that. I couldn't let him disrespect everyone here." "You did the right thing," her producer said. "You absolutely did the right thing." But Kelly wasn't thinking about whether it was right or wrong. She was thinking about all the times she'd been told to just smile and nod. All the times she'd been expected to take whatever was thrown at her, because that's what hosts do. That's what women do. That's what nice people do. Not today. Today she'd said enough. Today she'd drawn a line. Today she'd shown that kindness and strength can exist in the same person. Back in the studio, the audience was still buzzing. They couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. This was supposed to be a fun interview with a famous prince. Instead, they'd seen a masterclass in standing up for yourself. They'd seen Kelly Clarkson, the woman who sings about being stronger, actually be stronger. Not just in a song, but in real life, in a moment that mattered. When the show came back from commercial, Kelly was composed again, professional. But there was something different in her eyes, a fire that hadn't been there before. She addressed the audience directly. "I want to talk about what just happened. Not to gossip, not to criticize, but to say something important. We all deserve respect. Every single one of us. It doesn't matter if you're a prince, or a teacher, or a waitress, or a CEO. Respect is not something you're owed because of a title. It's something you earn through how you treat others." The audience listened, hanging on every word. Kelly continued, "I've interviewed hundreds of people on this show. Some were having the best day of their lives. Some were going through the worst. But you know what they all had in common? They showed up with kindness. They showed up with openness. They showed up willing to connect." She paused, collecting her thoughts. What happened today was unfortunate. It was uncomfortable. But it was also necessary. Because we will not, accept being treated as less than. Not me, not you, not anyone. The audience erupted in applause again. Kelly smiled, genuine this time. "Now, we've got a great show planned. We've got music, we've got fun, we've got all the things we love. So let's shake this off and get back to what we do best. Let's celebrate each other." And that's exactly what they did. The rest of the show was filled with laughter, and music, and joy. But everyone in that studio, everyone watching at home, knew they'd witnessed something bigger than entertainment. They'd witnessed someone standing up for their values. Someone refusing to be diminished. Someone showing that you don't have to accept mistreatment, no matter who it comes from. Kelly Clarkson had been tested, and she'd passed. Not by being perfect, not by having all the answers, but by being authentic, by being brave, by being herself. The prince had walked in thinking his title would protect him, thinking his pain justified his behavior, thinking he could say whatever he wanted without consequences. He was wrong. In Kelly's house, respect flows both ways. Kindness matters, and everyone, from royalty to regular folks, plays by the same rules. That day, a talk show became something more. It became a statement, a declaration that dignity is non-negotiable, that empathy doesn't mean accepting abuse, that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is set a boundary. Kelly had spent years being the good girl, the nice one, the one who makes everyone feel comfortable. But she'd learned something crucial that day. You can be kind without being weak. You can be compassionate without being a pushover. You can be warm without letting yourself be burned. The audience had come for entertainment. They'd gotten education. They'd seen what it looks like to stand firm in your values while the world watches. They'd seen courage wrapped in courtesy. As the show ended and the audience filed out, they weren't talking about the spectacle. They were talking about the substance, about how Kelly had handled herself, about how she'd protected not just herself, but all of them. Because when Harry dismissed their problems as little, he dismissed them, and Kelly had stood up for every single one of them. She'd said no. Their pain matters. Their struggles count. Their lives have value. That's what made her a hero that day. Not the conflict, not the drama, but the conviction, the unwavering belief that everyone deserves dignity. The prince had come looking for a platform. He'd found a mirror instead, a reflection of behavior that didn't match the values he claimed to hold. Words about compassion contradicted by actions of contempt. Kelly had given him every chance, every opportunity to reset, to refocus, to remember why he was there. But some people are so wrapped up in their own story that they can't see anyone else's. And that was his loss, because he'd missed the chance to connect with real people. People who might have understood him. People who might have supported him. People who were ready to listen. Instead, he'd alienated them, pushed them away with arrogance and anger. Proven that title and trauma don't excuse cruelty. The studio lights dimmed, the cameras powered down. Another show in the books, but this one would be remembered. Not for who was there, but for what happened. Not for the spectacle, but for the stand. Kelly sat in her dressing room afterward, still processing. Her phone was already blowing up. Messages of support. Questions from press. Reactions from around the world. But she wasn't thinking about any of that. She was thinking about her audience. About whether she'd done right by them. Whether she'd represented them well. She had. She absolutely had. Because she'd shown them that respect is a two-way street. That fame doesn't grant immunity from basic decency. That sometimes love means saying no. The prince had expected deference, gotten honesty instead, expected accommodation, gotten accountability instead, expected his title to carry the day, found that character carries more weight. In that studio, on that stage, with those people watching, Kelly Clarkson had drawn a line in the sand. Not with malice, not with meanness, but with clarity. This far and no further. Your pain doesn't justify my mistreatment. Your title doesn't diminish my worth. Your anger doesn't define my response. She taught a masterclass in boundaries, in self-respect, in standing up without tearing down. The world would talk about this for days, weeks, months. They'd debate who was right, who was wrong, who started it, who ended it. But the people in that studio knew the truth. They'd felt it. They'd lived it. They'd witnessed a moment of pure, unscripted humanity. No rehearsal could have prepared for this. No script could have captured it. This was real life, playing out in real time, with real consequences. And Kelly had handled it with grace under pressure, with strength wrapped in kindness, with firmness rooted in fairness. She'd been pushed to her limit and found that her limit was a boundary worth defending, that some lines shouldn't be crossed, that respect isn't optional. The prince had learned a hard lesson that day. That Americans might not have royalty, but they have something just as powerful. Dignity, self-respect, the courage to say enough. He'd come to promote a book about finding freedom. Instead, he'd shown how trapped he still was. Trapped in bitterness. Trapped in victimhood. Trapped in the belief that the world owed him something. Kelly had offered him freedom. The freedom of genuine connection. The freedom of authentic conversation. The freedom of being seen as a person, not a title. He'd rejected it, thrown it back in her face, chosen confrontation over connection. And so she'd given him one more freedom. The freedom to leave. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with a simple truth. You can't stay here and treat people this way. It was a gift, really. A chance to step away, to reflect, to consider whether the path he was on was really leading where he wanted to go. Whether he'd take that chance remained to be seen. But Kelly had done her part. She'd held up the mirror. She'd spoken the truth. She'd stood her ground. What happened next was up to him. But what happened in that studio, on that day, in those intense minutes of confrontation, would stand as proof. Proof that kindness has limits, that patience has boundaries, that even the warmest person will eventually say enough. Kelly Clarkson had said enough, and in doing so, she'd said everything that needed to be said.